says that there's supposed to be 4 roots or zeros. But looking at the graph, I only see 2. So right here is x equals 2. That's one of my zeros. Now it bounces off of here, which means it has multiplicity. Okay, multiplicity means it happens more than once. Now because we have 4 roots, it could either happen 2 times or 4 times. We don't know if it's multiplicity 2 or 4. So we're going to go through and use synthetic division to help us get there. All right, here's my equation that I'm going to solve to find those zeros. All we're doing is setting it equal to 0. Okay, it says that x equals 2 is a solution, so I'm going to do synthetic division with 2. Coefficients 1, negative 4. Nobody's missing. Don't forget to check for that. Look for those missing terms. Okay, here comes the process. Bring down, multiply. Need to make more room. Pause. All right, bring down that 1, multiply diagonally right above, and add down. Same process. Hello, go away, stupid box. And we've got 5. Keep going. Keep going. Whoops. Woohoo! Got our remainder equals 0. That means yes, it is a factor. I don't even know what happened to that r right there. R equals 0. Okay, so if we put our variables back in at this point, we started with x to the 4th, which means we would go x to the 3rd, x squared, x minus 10. Now, that is a 4-term polynomial, and we could try grouping, but we know that 2 at least works one more time because of this multiplicity. So I'm actually going to take that new polynomial. Man, my words aren't coming out. And I'm going to take 2 and divide it out of that guy. No remainder, that guy's gone. You just have to keep dividing under the, for the reduced pieces. You don't have to start at the beginning to test it again. So bring it down. 0, 10, 0, woohoo, r equals 0. Okay, now, because I was at x cubed, now I am at x squared. 0x, and my constant. Now that it's a quadratic, I can turn it into a regular old equation, plus 0x. I don't need it there. Okay, and then I can solve that quadratic. It's not 3 terms, it's just 2 terms with an x squared, and no x, which means I can move this guy over, and then finish solving. I get x equals plus or minus the square root of negative 5. You don't leave a negative there, so we've got x equals plus or minus I times the square root of 5. And that means our final answer, here's my zeros. 2, it's a multiplicity of 2, right? We did it twice. And then plus or minus I square root of 5. So you are going to have complex answers in this with actual i's, right? Imaginary, I guess. Imaginary solutions. We needed 4, but on the graph, it only showed 2. There's only one intercept, but 4 zeros. Now, sometimes it is the multiplicity down here is 4. It could just be 2 happens 4 times. Or maybe it's some imaginary answers. Imaginary answers means no intercepts for those guys. Okay. Next one. Find all zeros of the polynomial function. We're supposed to get 3 of them. Now looking at the graph, we can identify -1 and 0 for sure. But then this guy right here, I'm not sure what it is. So function is 3x cubed plus x squared minus 2x. It's some kind of fractional number. So you have 2 choices here. You can list those p's and q's, right? Here's p, plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2. Sorry, p over q. Plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, and then on the bottom it's just 1. Plus or 1, plus or minus, plus, oh, seriously? Plus or minus 1 or 2 divided by plus or minus 1. Sorry, 3 and 3. I forgot about that guy. Wait a minute. That right there is not the constant. 0 is the constant. I already know that 0 is 1. So we're going to have to use synthetic division for this one because it's a little weird. Okay. Basically what we're solving is this equation. And we're going to use the values that we know. We know that -1 is a solution. Okay, so I'm going to do synthetic division on it. Our coefficients are 3, 1, -2, 0. There's a missing constant term. You have to put in any missing terms. Bring down the 3, add together. Woohoo, the remainder equals 0. Now I'm going to put my variables back in at this point because I started at x cubed, which means now I'm down to x squared, x, and the constant. That constant, of course, doesn't affect anything because it's 0. And to a quadratic, let's see, it's got a GCF of 0. Or sorry, a GCF of x. Left over is 3x minus 2. Each one gets set equal to 0. Add 2. Divide by 3. This one says x equals 2/3. That looks about right. That's 2/3. Okay, we had x equals 2/3, 0, and -1. Those are zeros. And there's lots of different ways of going about this. Yes, in the beginning you could have solved that just by factoring, but we're practicing using the synthetic division. Okay, last one. Now we are looking for 3 zeros. Pen size is way too big. Okay, the degree is 3, so we've got 3 zeros. Now this graph, I know it's going to be hard for you to see, but if you were to zoom in right here, yes, there is one at -2. The other ones, though, are not on regular old values. Here's another one, and then the other one here. Okay, if we looked at our P's and Q's, the factors of -6 are plus or minus 1, 2, 3, or 6. Our leading coefficient is 1, so these are the nice easy ones. That means our P over Q list is just plus or minus 1, 2, 3, and 6. That does tell us that -2 is correct. It is a 0, but there's no values inside here. So these are only the possible rational zeros, which means these two values right here have to be irrational. If none of the rational solutions show up, right, obviously that's not -1 or that's not 2 or whatever, then that means your answer is going to be irrational. Good Lord, I've got my pen 4 times. Butterfingers. Okay, so we're going to use synthetic division to help us finish factoring it. Got -2. You write the equation up top so that you can see it. Or the equation. I'm going to put in a 0. X cubed. Talking to myself. Wondering where all these straight lines and dots come from. Okay, we are going to do -2. That's our A. You do not need to change signs when you're doing an x equals value. -2 on the outside. There's no x values missing, so I don't need to worry about that. Okay, following the process, bring the first one down, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add. Woohoo, my remainder equals 0. All right, now we're going to put the x's back in. This started at x cubed, so now I'm down to x squared, x, and the constant. It's quadratic, so I'm going to stop right there, and I'm just going to solve this equation. I don't need the 0x. It doesn't have any meaning. I have 2 terms, and there's no x, which automatically means the square root method. You can always use the quadratic at this point. You would just have a is 1, b is 0, c is -3. So x squared equals 3. To finish solving, you square root. Got x equals plus or minus the square root of 3. Now that's approximately 1 plus or minus 1.73, which looks accurate. This looks like -1.73 about. This looks like positive 1.73. So our zeros are -2 and then plus or minus square root of